All right, well, this is the August 19th agenda for what we have on the call. Two big highlights. The first is updates to the program, actions that allocators need to take to remain active and functioning, as well as how we're changing how the back end works for making sure that these distributions go out in a fast and timely way. And the second part of the call focuses on allocator updates. Who are we still processing applications for, and what are the status? And what does DataCap refresh look like? At the end of the call, we'll have time for questions. If you have an application in progress, an issue, or a DataCap refresh, we always save time for any discussion that you may want to see as we go forward. So with that, let's dive right in. This agenda is posted after the call, so if you have content that you want to see or link or carry forward, please check out issue 422. Has all the talking points as well as the links, slides, and recordings for this video, as well as what's shared for YouTube. This call is taking place August 19th. If you have content that you want to bring back to the community, then the opportunity will be on September 2nd. All right, hey, updates check-in. 118 petabytes of DataCap. Woo! Busy 2 weeks. Thank you for all the distributions. Thank you to the storage providers, and thank you to the clients that are finding this valuable data. There were 17 new clients that came on board in addition to the existing ones, and we are now to 92 active allocators in the program. And you'll see in the red text, this 92 number does not include several of the organizations still to be added. So we've really grown the program. We've tried to make it as easy as possible for clients to connect with somebody to verify their data is accurate and adding value to thank you to those 92 allocators. As you can see, we're really starting to see that pay off with the growth that's coming on board. So how are we facilitating that growth? Here's some program updates for the allocators to be very aware of. Number one, if you are an allocator, you have action to take. Allocators should create a README file in their repository for their pathway, and that README file should describe how clients should work with you. So we list each allocator on the phil.org website, as well as the governance repo. But when an allocator is now soliciting clients, those clients should have a very public way to see what the standards are for the allocators. And without this, we cannot award DataCap because there's no metric to hold you to aside from what you put in your application. So if that's not communicated to the clients, there's really no way to go forward. So you'll see it in red text here on the slide. I'll post this in the Phil Plus channel after this call to just foot stomp it again. But if you are an allocator pathway, you need to set up a README file. And that README file should cover the points listed here on this slide. And again, this is what's looked at by the watchdog, by the community, and governance when this review is taking place. So again, without this README file, you will not be eligible for a DataCap refresh, as well as if we're not seeing these README files created, but we start to see DataCap go out, you may be subject to having your DataCap frozen or the pathway completely offboarded at the time. This is important. Please ensure you take care of this. If you have any questions, follow up in the Phil Plus Slack channel. Feel free to tag myself, Amin, Damien, will be happy to help you. I'll always be checking chat, so if you're on this call and you have questions, feel free to use that hand icon or post in chat and I'll get back to you. The second thing I'd like to highlight for existing allocators to be aware of is we've noticed a trend, and the trend is public open data sets being stored copies into the dozens. A small example is the NOAA weather. I love it. Great data. I'm looking forward to AI training on that data in the future. But what we started to see is 20, 30 copies of the same data set in the same region. So if you have a client that's coming to you and you're an allocator, you should be asking them on that public set and checking, has this been stored before? And if so, what value is it added? You'll see put in bold here in red, allocators, you should factor this in to your allocations that you're granting. Anybody who requests DataCap has a valid reason. So that means that if you see a request from a client to store a copy of a data set that's already been stored 8 times, you as an allocator should not approve that application. Again, public open data sets should be limited to 8 copies. If we're seeing more of that data set, that results in that allocator pathway not being eligible for a DataCap refresh because they are not maintaining the benefits of the program to facilitate quality data, to facilitate the growth of the Filecoin network. So again, allocators be very mindful. that you will be held to a standard of 8 copies of the public open data set. If you have any questions, please let us know, but I'd strongly advise to not wait until it comes time to refresh. And the watchdog or admin are kind of highlighting this because this will result in you either being throttled or your pathway sunset and other pathways that are adhering to the standard going forward. So this is very important. Please be mindful if you're a public open data set. And lastly, as far as program updates, you might have seen that there are times within the program during peak holidays or vacation schedules or times where we have a lot of bandwidth taking place, but not a lot of individual support, that we have a slowdown. And that slowdown results from the root key holder process. So if you can see from this slide that I have here on this graphic, right now, what we're proposing is we have set up over the last couple of months these meta allocator pathways. And at a high level, to refresh you, experimental pathway is for organizations that are wishing to create like an automated or a market structure. They don't really know how it's going to operate. They've built an MVP. They'd like to test it with DataCap so they receive a small award to implement their tooling, make sure it functions before they receive a large amount. The second is the manual diligence. So these are all the applications that are conducting a manual review of the client's data and the DataCap that's awarded. And the third are existing large automated tools. So right now, each of those is going to be set up in F2 and the purpose of this is faster approval process. Rather than having 1, 2, or a handful of individuals that have authorization to make that final change, this will expand it out so that the root key holder can distribute that data cap to these experimental meta allocators or meta allocators for manual or meta allocators for manual diligence, and then get that out to the applications much faster. As we've said before, the goal from start to finish is 2 weeks from the time an allocator submits their application for refresh to receiving it. So what's changing with this model? So what's going to happen is each root key holder will migrate from that F1 to F2 structure that we. So you may see the same root key holder appear as if it was that in that overlap time frame. What's not changing? It's still independent orgs, still distributed across one, no central authority on this. The threshold remains the same of the F080, and the same mandates change. So no change to governance, no change to how the process works, and why this matters. So a single device will be going, and there's no longer a single person risk. So that means that as we go through, Mart, I see your comment in text. That should be the same one. I just snipped down the lines as we go forward. I'll pause and I'll let you take it as we go.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to, if you go to the previous image, the way that it was displayed, it's enterprise and enterprise rather than open data and enterprise.
Enterprise and enterprise. Oh, I
Manual
see.
diligence meta allocator. It seems like we have two enterprise audits. It should be one is enterprise and one is open data because that's how we do it right now. It's not. I'm just yeah noted that there is an error there.
Good catch. I'll make sure and update that. So yeah, just as Marta's saying, this should be open. So kind of got that, go through. Marta, good flag as always. Thanks for that. So why this matters, this is the big takeaway for you on the call, the community, whether you're a client or an allocator, is that this eliminates that single device, single person failure. So when you submit that app refresh and you're like, hey, what's the status? Why haven't I gotten that? Sometimes we're kind of hamstrung by that old system. And that old system was put in place when we had, 10, 20 allocators, and we were only facilitating a small amount. As this program's grown, we just kind of outgrown that structure. So that's why we're moving to the multi-sig. So it should be faster, more transparent. And the thing for allocators to keep in mind, there's no action needed from you in the community. Once we've taken this change, you'll see the confirmation take place and that'll go forward. Pause because we have some great people on the call that might have some thoughts or anything they want to add. Marta, Michael, anybody, floor is yours if you'd like to kind of piggyback on this and share.
Okay, I'll jump in then. Yeah, from Fiddle perspective, obviously we build tooling that enables all of this, so we don't have any impact on the governance process itself. But this is a topic that has come up a few times as a necessity for Resilience, we are, working closely with the protocol team, obviously, to make sure that the management of root key holder signing DataCap and all the other things is solid and secure, and there's no chance for risking anything. But basically, we are hoping that this will improve the resiliency of the program, because you've all seen this situation where all of a sudden we don't have enough DataCap, enough signers, or people are on holidays, burning months, whatsoever, right? And then all of a sudden we can't, a governance team, or sorry, root key holders can't allocate DataCap. So this is a change that doesn't impact the community as such, but obviously we know that a lot of you are watching the F080. We are at the final stages of testing it all and making sure that it's secure and safe. As far as I understand, it's Filecoin Foundation and Protocol Labs as the two teams that decided to go off on Multisig. The other organizations that are on the Multisig are free to choose. Both of the ways will be supported. And yeah, I think that's all from my side. If you have any questions specifically how it works, obviously the code will be open source if you want to verify anything. It's going to happen all through the apply.allocator.tech. If you log in as a root key holder, then you'll see the changes there. But from everyone else's perspective, it's just some activity on F080 that you'll observe.
Yeah, thanks for that, Marta. Just to add, Kevin, for those of you who haven't met, I'm Michael. I just joined the Filecoin Foundation as head of governance a couple of weeks ago, yeah, happy we're making this change from a good governance perspective. Moving from single signer to a multi-sig setup is really best practice in terms of blockchain security in the industry, and really important to decentralization, as Kevin said, in terms of avoiding single points of failure and dependency on individuals. So this is definitely a best practice in terms of this change.
Love it. Michael, one quick audio check. I just troubleshooted my mic. Can you hear me better now? Am I coming through okay?
Yeah, you're good.
All right,
you're good before too.
wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Michael, so happy to have you. MPG as always. Thank you for that. All right. Hey, a check-in on the allocator onboarding update. So this applies to organizations that are still in the queue that might not have received DataCap or had an update. So I wanted to check in with you. There are a few public open allocators that submitted changes. So what that means is you turn an application in the apply.allocator.tech and that you were not approved, or there was an issue or a block, and that we move forward with the onboarding ratification, but your process was kind of in this limbo. So there's 18 applications. So a small example might be like Silver Power Enterprise. You guys submitted an application, you were not approved, you asked for feedback, ways that you could come, you attended the calls, we gave you that feedback, and you submitted a new application at July and it closed. What we've been doing is working through those one at a time to kind of onboard those one at a time as they come through. We're just kind of been hamstrung with bandwidth on the team and moving forward with other things. I just wanted to check in with you. You've not been forgotten. You're being onboarded as they come through. And once those updates entered into our backfilling, verified on your initial application, and we update that, we can then go forward and merge those and put those through. The same thing holds true for these enterprise data allocators. So again, some of these are known resources in the community. We know you're doing large outreach. And some of these, when we receive them after the fact or they made a change, what we've been doing is looking at these and say, like, what is that existing structure? How are you soliciting those clients? And if you're asking for huge amounts of petabytes, like over 100, what we're doing is really looking at how can you facilitate that for the enterprise and how are you making the deals? So even though we've closed it and begun on-ramp those 92 apps for allocators that I showed you earlier, these ones have taken a little bit more time. They might have come in after the fact or made changes after the fact. Just want to let you know we're still looking at these and going through. Silver Power, to answer your chain, yeah, it's been 2 months. And the reason for your delay was you were initially denied. due to lack of diligence, lack of a structure, lack of an auditability chain. When you came back and resubmitted it, we had already closed the program after that. We made the exception to kind of onboard and make sure that we're giving the benefit of the doubt to organizations like yours that want to participate. And in exchange, what we ask for is a little bit of patience as we go back and catch that up. I have a slide, so just talk to it soon. But for Silver Power, what we're noticing is a lot of the one-off changes for organizations like that eat up a large amount of time. A very small team trying to do a lot for a lot of data. So we have to kind of prioritize where we're focusing our resources. And what we've said right now is for the existing clients that have application data, there are channels for onboarding pathways like yourself that are new to the program, that are just getting started. We're saying that we're deprioritizing those to focus on the larger ones and make sure that the data cap is going out. But I want to stress, just for yours in this, you're not forgotten. We are just still working through to make sure that the data cap is going out, that the program is updated, and that all systems are running. And EPMA, I don't see you on this list, August. So if you want, go to issue 422. It's the call that we're on right now in governance repository. Please share your link there. And that way I could take a look and look at this list. For whatever, I don't see you. So if you're not on this list, that means I don't have an application from you, either as an allocator for a public open data set or an enterprise. So August, from your question in Slack, what about EPMA? Please go to 422 in governance. And Silver, if we just keep waiting, will it be better if there's any progress? I can't speak to the better. I think we'll just have to keep waiting to be onboarded as a new pathway. And what we're doing is we're prioritizing the ones that we have all the information and going through and then circling back to these. And then August, your question in Slack is the 1 petabyte of EPMA experimental has been completed. What should be the next step as a formal allocator? Look at your channel, Laugh Allocator. I tell you what, that's a good follow-up rather than kind of like take this time. We can either pin this to the community section and come back to it, or leave me that note and I'll link back and I'll loop in some more people to get you what you need, August. Hey, DataCap refresh. So I think I mentioned we had about 100 gigs go out. We have a lot of pending in there. I want to kind of foot stomp this as far as DataCap refresh, because this is important for existing allocators. It's that for the governance use of time, what we've been finding is the majority of the community is participating in an honorable, trustworthy way that maintains the diligence standards that they put out. But there is a small subsect of the population that is consumed the majority of the time for the governance. I think it's about an 80-20 ratio. So what we need to do is kind of make a choice. Do we continue to invest in these organizations that are consuming the time with changes to their leadership, changes to their GitHub, changes to their leading their application, reapplying, changing their application after it's been reapplying, making a diligence check, not doing the diligence checks? What we're finding is it's slowly limiting the ability to actually serve the Filecoin community. So what we're saying is over the past year, we've been very patient and very facilitating with DataCap refresh process, throttling applications 1, 2, 3 times, giving lots of feedback. Now that we have nearly 100 allocators in the program, it just does not make sense to continue on that pathway where the time is invested in these allocator programs for the pathways that aren't adhering to the standards. So what we're saying is allocators, when you applied your organization, you said very specific what standards you would, who would be held accountable, and how you would dictate that data cap. If that standard is not followed, going forward in the program, that pathway will just be removed. If you have clients, there are many other pathway allocators that can handle that, as well as dedicated tooling from clients. Maintaining this allows us to have these stricter requirements. So again, I'm going to read it in red. Stricter requirements are in place for allocators to ensure that the data cap disbursements align with the diligence standards. So pathways that fail to meet their own standards and commitments that they put, be the transparency, the diligence, the recording, they just simply will not be refreshed with DataCap. And if they would like to support clients, they can refer those clients to pathways that are meeting those standards. This way, the allocator should be serving as a facilitator, not as a right in the program. And this is what a big part of this reapplication process was. to really define what your standards are for your pathway and that you should meet those. There is far less of the throttling. There will be far less of the back and forth. If you don't meet the retrievability, if you don't meet the bookkeeping, if you don't meet the repositories, you will simply be told that you will not remain in the program. There are several discussions. I'll link them again and I'll share this back. But I just want to kind of stress that we will be removing many of the organizations that fail to meet their allocator standards in the DataCap refresh. So here's what the status looks like. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6 that have submitted within the last couple of days. They're currently going through a watchdog community review of their applications. I have them linked here. Once those pass, they'll be in that governance phase where they get this. Again, Amin, who's on the call, able to answer questions as we go through. We'll leave any final kind of thoughts. But again, whatever you spelled out in your application should be how you communicated with your clients as we go through. There's also about 11 allocators that are awaiting DataCap refresh. This harkens back to the root key holder change that we talked about right. Once we move to this new, several of us that are on the chain, and it can be a much faster process. Again, the goal is less than 2 weeks to get that DataCap out after you've refreshed 70% of it. So big highlights from the call about the root key holder, about the copies, about creating the root key holder, the README file for your organization, and really just stomping on standards will be created for this program. If those are not met, that organization will be removed and clients can be diverted to one of the many other pathways to participate in the program. So I'll pause and I'll see if anybody wants to raise a hand, jump in, and I'll go back to text. Fiona, I see your hand. Welcome to the call. Floor is yours.
Hello, Kevin. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear.
Hi, Kevin. Hi, Armin. Do you remember me? I'm Fiona. I attended our meeting before and discussed with our about the changing channels. And this time we focus on consumer and already engaging 2 clients and everything is going well. However, they reject our DataCap refresh application based on the historical data. It doesn't make sense. Could you please have a look at the issue 407 and also the discussion 419 and according the client's data information to refresh the DataCap. And I also leave comments on the watchdog. You can contact me on that one.
Yeah, Fiona, thank you so much for coming and thank you for the time to put together this discussion. I wish that I had news that would probably make you happier, but I don't. Essentially, what we've seen with CoinSummer is so many changes to your org structure, to the people that were leading it, to the GitHub handles, and then to the refresh. When the clients had came to you in the past, what we had seen was that there was very little done as far as diligence or maintaining the standards, and you were throttled. And into that first throttle, there was very clear guidance what it takes to maintain that as far as like so I see your request for the refresh from 107, but the reason why this was essentially no refresh granted was with your organization, we had seen a failure to meet the standards that you put through it in the program. And the data cap that was being distributed was not auditable and it was not adding to the value of the network. Since we have 92 other organizations that are in the program, as well as dedicated tooling like what Fiddle has prepared, the time that it takes to look, to audit, to fix, to go back and do this again, we have to make a call to for the succinct of the program on what adds value and what keeps it going. And with the coin summer, based off the past behavior, what we decided was that this pathway, it's not rules. Sorry, there's a cat coming forward on like how to actually do that. So if there was something specific, I'm very happy to dive into it. I've also invited a Min who's with the foundation governance team to kind of provide any more insight or any questions you had on a tactic. But again, I'm so sorry and I thank you for your participation. I'd still like you to invite your clients to one of the many allocators that are currently functioning if they would like to bring their data sets to receive DataCap in the future.
Sorry, I mean the 2.5p this time. We already do it very complex.
I apologize. I don't know which one you're referring to. Would you mind linking that in the chat and I'll pull it up and I'll share screen, but I don't know which one that you're referring to. You had a request previously that was throttled, and then you had a recent request that was told we're not going to receive any future DataCap.
Okay.
Yeah, if I can just echo and chime in. By the way, not sure if you guys can hear me correctly.
Yeah, we got Jimin.
All right. So nice to hear your voice, Fiona. We've had a few exchanges on one-on-one, but I also wanted to make sure that we can echo the mention regarding not just the past under performance, but also the various changes and the differences in team composition and team practices. Part of the intent behind the decision is also to make sure that you guys can start afresh without having to be, I don't want to say penalized, but to kind of factor in what is the past history associated with the allocation activity. So, in essence, understanding that if there's too many material changes since the initial application has been accepted, one of the judgment call is also to make sure that if you start it new with like a refreshed application with like the bestest and greatest information associated with your operations, but also with your client pool, this is what could optimize your chance for future reception and future top-ups. At current time, I believe we've been transparent and we've been able to share it. So I did very well with this 2.5 pips. No, I disagree. That is not what I said. And it's also, part of the elements that were flagged. So if you need more details or if you want to like better understand some of these elements in composition, you have access to the direct links and references. So if we mention some gaps and some elements, you're free to go.
Do you have any final questions or anything that you wanted to flag for Amin or myself or anyone all about this or any of it?
Yeah, feel free to still use current tooling if you need clarification or else. But I mean, links are there.
All right. If there's anything else, Fiona, please let us know. But again, I thank you for your time in the program. If you have clients that are coming to you and asking for allocations, I'd encourage you to refer them to one of the 92 other allocators that are in the program that can help those clients, as well as any of the automated tooling that Fiddle has created. But again, thank you for any contributions and your hard work. And we look forward to seeing you in the ecosystem, however you wish to participate for the benefit of the Web3 storage. Thank you again for that. Kind of going through chat, I see another question. I'll do the question, then I'll do chat. Eric, I see your question. Floor is yours.
Yes. Hi, Kevin. So I'm coming for this meeting a little bit late. So I saw Michael there. So Michael, this is Eric. I'm actually
Eric,
OG for the
Filecoin. Eric, if you have anything, floor is yours.
Community member here. So can you introduce you for the communities? I heard you might be the replacement of the Galen to be the government here, right?
Hi, Eric. Great to meet you.
Eric, feel free to come back. Maybe it was. Oh, you could hear Eric?
I could hear him.
Yes, I can hear you.
You can hear him, Kevin?
Yes, I could hear
Uh,
Edgar as well.
okay, good. Yeah, I heard you.
It's just me.
Yeah, great to meet you, and thanks so much for reaching out. No, I'm not replacing Galen as a program manager. I'm coming in as the head of governance for the Filecoin Foundation overall, and working on reforming governance, not just in the Phil Plus context, but also for Filecoin as a blockchain, as a network, thinking about. How do we get more community participation in the design and prioritization of the network, including economic incentives like the Phil Plus program. So I'd say my remit is kind of beyond this, so it's not necessarily that I'm replacing Galen per se, but nice to meet you guys.
Okay, great. So the sound is terrible, so I cannot hear you 100%. I can only show some subtitles from the translation. Thank you.
And Eric, apologies to you. My cat jumped on my desk, hit the button to turn off the mic, so I'm sorry for talking over you. Should be good, but Eric, you're always a pleasure. Thanks for that question going forward. Let's come back to chat and see what else we have. Okay, Rosen, I see your question about 969. Let me check, and I'm just going to link it here into the agenda so we can pull it back and find this. Your Yingqing. Let me see where you guys are. Let me share a screen so you can see this with me. Nope. There we go. So we left off. We had the bot run. Note comes with this. Let me check discretion. So we're in Yingqing. If you could post at what specifically is going on, this might speed it up for me a little bit, but I'll see if I can grab you. See where you are. I think you're in the same boat where we had gone back and forth with a couple of missing informations. Part of your KYC was not there, but we had it. So I still have you approved to onboard. Let's see if we've got you here too. Let me take a look. I think you just might be in that already approved and just waiting for that sign off from other members of our team. What I'm going to do is I'm going to link you into 422 so I can come back and get this after the call and follow up. But you're all set. You're just in that kind of waiting. This was 422. 469. So I'm going to link it here in the agenda. I'll get back and I'll see where this stands. We have an internal tracker. I pull from it, and we have another member of our team not on the call. I think that this had just been waiting for that sign off. But as far as I can see from the screen I shared into the governance repository, there's a discussion where I took everybody who had been approved and cleared, and you are cleared hot for that 5. And I'll just see where that status is for you. So thanks for the question. I'll get back and I'll let you know. All right. And then Silver Power ID, your questions from before, there's nothing I could do to speed this up. So you had made the change, we had processed the change, and I could just say we were going to deny it. And so from like a friendly standpoint, we're kind of like making sure to give you the opportunity to kind of advance the program. But again, we're trying to invest more of our time into the percent versus these changes that we have. So Silver Power, you should see that coming. I can't give you a time frame. our team is kind of back to full strength and we've kind of processed these, this should streamline. And we're just at a challenging standpoint, post-election, post-tooling, post-DataCap refresh, post all the onboarding, and then doing this with like a 40% reduction and who's here helping you. So we'll get back. I wish I had a time. I'll let you know as we come forward. All right, B, I see yours. Let's take a look. I'm going to share screen again. Let's see. So coming to chat, I see an issue coming from, looks like B Chen. He tags myself and Amin. It says, can you help us? It's issue 1094 with the Steri manual allocator. Let's pull this up. Yeah, so here's where some of these registry changes come through. I saw these come by. I tagged these last week as we came through 2 weeks ago. And what I've been doing is we put together like, how are we auditing and tracking these? One of the things that gets a little bit tricky is changing some of these repos and changing some of the key information after it's been submitted into our backend makes it very difficult to then find it and link it later. So you'll notice on a DataCap refresh, when we look at any kind of a refresh that comes through, let me just show you one for example. We pull past history that comes back. So we start with the application, become an allocator or become a notary. Then we look at all of the other past transactions that happened. One thing that we see with changing some of these JSON files, changing some of the bookkeeping, changing some of the names, is we have to do this very strategically to make sure that we're changing it in all of the right places. So what I did was I flagged these to make sure I came back to them and thinking that we would have a little bit more bandwidth. As that bandwidth opens up, as we kind of get back to full strength, I'll be making these final. And the purpose is that way when the DataCap refresh happens for this pathway name, everything in place. Without doing this correctly, what happens is it comes time for the DataCap refresh, and it's very difficult to kind of link these on the historics that came back to it. So thanks for your patience. I'll put this in the notes for the chat that we're doing right now in this next governance call, and I'll say a follow-up to make sure that you get this going forward, and hopefully to make sure, I'll just personally make sure I make these changes for you. I always appreciate you coming to these calls, flagging it, and I will come back to that. Fiona from Coin Summer, I see your text in chat. Should you create a new address and reapply? That way the previous on-chain record won't affect my regular work anymore. Fiona, I apologize for the miscommunication that I or any of the calls might have made. What we're looking to kind of establish is right now, after onboarding, about 100 pathways. We're not going to be soliciting additional pathways that are doing the same basic work of that. What we're doing is we've onboarded the 100 pathways, and we're going to slowly find out with reputation and diligence standards who's able to meet that and really invest our support in those allocators that are growing the network. Unfortunately, what that means is that any allocator that's not meeting those standards or is not maintaining that, we have to say thank you for service and then tell you that any clients that might be coming to you, direct those clients to other allocators that can approve that data cap. Again, allocators should be working independently. That allocator should be reviewing that data, but they should be almost agnostic in their belief that like what they need. So if you have clients that are coming to you for this, I'd encourage you to recommend them to the phil.org website. I'm happy to share that. To the Fiddle tooling, I can just put that on the board so you can see it. But there are over 100 other places that they can go to get the clients, and encourage you to participate your focus on the Filecoin Web3 ecosystem by supporting another part of the program. But no, there will not be an opportunity right now for you to resubmit. It wasn't the past diligence that went through it. It was the new standards since we've onboarded this application that resulted in the data cap not being awarded. Chen, I see your question in chat that some partners have the same problem. Same answer. Again, coming back, what we're seeing is changes to some of the core information post-application results almost in a fork. So if we have one bookkeeping and several different GitHubs, then all of that changes after the application. It's just a time-consuming process for us to go back and make sure that we're accounting for it essentially. And so to kind of hark back, I'll just put this slide up. It's that we've been spending about 80% of our time on just a handful of these issues and neglect like the larger project. So what we're having to is make the choice to we're going to support kind of coming through here and kind of deprioritizing some of these. So what that means is, yes, you will see that come through once we've had the time to scope and put that. And again, thanks for your patience. Post-election, post having not all the team on staff, it's just been triaging as we go through. So you should see that come in a matter of time. And to your question on when it will be approved, I don't have a timeline for you. I'm hoping that once we get access to some of the different tooling, I think I put this up here. I'll just come back to the slides. Once more inside of the network that are leading from this governance standpoint, access to go through the tooling, the hope is that we're not waiting for one or two people to make these final program decisions, but this can be democratized and kind of spread out in a decentralized way. So without giving you like a just shot in the dark, it's August 19th. I can tell you, I very much want this to be done just as much as you want that to get. So I'm hoping that once we get the final numbers that we can authorize this and push it forward, you should see that. So let me just check you. BN, can you put your application link number in the chat? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to link it here and I'll follow up with you so that you could see it. So Bchen, can y'all put this in chat? Can you link your application number, please? And I'll pop it in right here as well. Silver Power, I see your question. As we said before, this was just submitted, denied, resubmitted, and it's just in the waiting process. So Silver Power, just waiting for final approval and review. You'll see that come through, but again, you're just in that boat. It was denied. It was re-put in. It's not prioritized from a bandwidth standpoint, but when bandwidth allows, we will be onboarding that going through. And Bchen, if you want to do the same thing, and I'll just leave an update as I close this, that way you have the slides on it. All right, we'll make one last call. If there's anything on minds or in chat. All right, as always, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for what you do in the program, whether you're an allocator, a storage provider, or a client participating. We value it. Any follow-ups, please let us know, and I'll post this video to YouTube shortly. All the best, everyone. Cheers.
Thanks, Kevin. Nice to meet you.
Hey, warm hellos to you guys on the line. If you're watching, this is the second Filecoin Plus call taking place on August 19th. We have a kind of full agenda, so to make sure that I give you guys the benefit on the call right now, I'm going to go through the slides, and of course, there'll be lots of time. What I'd like is if you have questions, we could save them till the end. It's helpful if there's a big group, but since there's just a few of us on this evening call, feel free. Put it in chat. I'll keep it up as we go, or just raise a hand and we'll get into anything because there's a lot on this that's going to apply to you. And I want to make sure that you're getting that intel as we go forward. So at a high level, here's what we have on the call. First, just the usual check-in, metrics, schedule, how the network's growing, but then a couple of points. The first will be talking about what needs to be in your repository set up for DataCap. You have to have a README file. We'll talk about all the details. The second thing is there's an update coming to the multisig. We're changing from individual F1 addresses to organizational F2. No action, but it's important that you guys know what's happening behind the scenes, so making sure you're aware of that. Then number 3, action. There's an update coming to how we store public open data sets. So if your pathway is storing public open data, this will apply, and I'll be there for any questions you have. Then the rest, a lot of it's just check-in. If you submitted an application, you might be curious where it stands in the process. I'll let you know about how we're processing these as they come through. And if you've submitted a DataCap refresh, same story. So again, any questions, please let us know as we go through. Don't have to wait till the end. Small group, even just unmute, talk, and I'll just kind of walk you through some of the kickoffs so you have it. All right, first off, as always, I make these update issues in GitHub. If there's anything you want to discuss or track or link, That's a great place to put it. So in the morning call, there was a few questions about status of applications. What can I do? I had the folks include the link in this slide, and I'll go through and I'll answer those after the call. Just another way that you can keep in contact with me and the rest of the governance team as they go forward. This call is August 19th. Next call is September 2nd. Just update your calendars. We'll see your smiling faces or Zoom backgrounds then. Hey, there are 92 allocators and counting, and that does not include some of the folks like Kenneth. We're going to be onboarding you guys soon. So we're going to see this number climb to well over 100. What we've seen is that 118 petabytes have gone out of DataCap since that onboarding of new allocators, and 17 brand new clients served. So great network growth. Thank you for all you do allocating the data. Looking forward to seeing the program grow in the future. All right. Hey, program updates. Here's the first one. If you are a returning allocator, or if you're a new allocator, this is for you. When you submitted your application, you spelled out how your diligence will work. How will you conduct transactions? How will you do dispute resolutions? How is your pathway described? You need to make sure that that information is now made public for any clients or anybody like a watchdog or community or a min from the foundation to look at it. So if you are an allocator, ensure that in your bookkeeping repository inside of GitHub, you have a README file, and it should hit these points: your audit plan, your dispute resolution, your risk mitigation, your allocation policy, contact information, and pathway description. So please take a look. If you haven't done that already, this is the call to action for you to take care of that. If this is not set up, you will not be able to do a DataCap refresh request. And fair warning, if we see that there is DataCap going out, but there's no record of like client diligence in that process, you risk being flagged by the auditing process and have your DataCap frozen or your pathway possibly sunset. So please be mindful, take a look, and make sure that you have that README file. Second thing that's an update for you, if you are running a public open dataset allocator pathway and helping store public open data, we're looking for valuable data. And by that, what we've seen is some data sets have just been onboarded 24 times, sometimes even 36 times with the same data set in the same region. And while redundancy is nice, there is a limit on how helpful it is to have the same data backed up. So making the kind of stewardship call that there needs to be some type of limit to not just store the same data set 1,000 times into perpetuity, we're setting that cap at 8. So you're going to see a proposal coming that outlines this. This is just fair warning for early discussion, that the data cap for public open data will be capped at 8 copies, which means that as you as an allocator, if you're seeing a client come to you and say, look, I'm going to be storing this data, a question you should ask that client is, how many times has this data been stored? And if you check or they let you know in that diligence process that it's more than 8, it's up to you as the allocator to come back to them and say, look, the program guidelines say we should only have this 8 times. You might want to find another public open data set that benefits the network. It benefits the betterment of the Filecoin ecosystem. Otherwise, what will happen is when we look at the audit review for public open data sets, part of the audit process will include how many times has this data been stored? And if it's more than 8, the question will come back to the allocator is, this was against the program guidelines. This was against how public open data sets should operate. You run the risk of either being throttled or removed entirely and having future clients sent to an allocator that will enforce those standards. So be very mindful. A lot more of these standards are being rolled out here in the second half of 2025. Any questions, please let me know and you'll see the proposal come. But be on the mindset when you're getting ready for this, public open data sets, 8 copies. Another update, just general awareness, no action. Right now, all of the root key holder process happens through an F1 address, good and bad. Bad is if we don't have access to the root key holder due to vacations, due to workload, due to communications, whatever it may be, you face short draws and timeline delays on getting that DataCap refresh. That can be a problem. If you're waiting for it, running a business, it can be a challenge. So what we've seen is there needs to be a way that we put the root key holder process on a multi-sig. That way there's other individuals that can sign for that without having to wait for one central block. So if you look at this graphic here, essentially we have actually four pathways for that DataCap refresh to flow out. We have the experimental pathway. This is if you're building something new and you'd like to have that looked at. The second is manual, which is the bulk of the allocator reviews taking place right now, manually reviewing what clients bring to you. And the third is an automated diligence. What will happen on the back end in the coming days is that we will be updating all of the wallets from F1 to F2. So there's still independence. Everything is still going to remain on the F080, and there will still be no government changes. The only thing that will change is there will be more key holders to impact these pathways that flow out. So we'll still get it from the root key holder stored on these addresses. And what that means is much faster DataCap refresh. The goal, as we've talked about, is trying to figure out how to get this process down to a substandard 2-week. We've achieved that at a few times. And then we kind of looked back at how we did it and what was stopping us from doing it in the future. And what we saw was we can get the refreshes done, we can get everything queued up, but sometimes we're just limited by the human element of only having a select small group of those root key holders. So expanding that out to the F2 makes it a lot faster and a lot more efficient for you. So nothing to be aware of, no action. Just be aware that you'll see that on the back end. All right. Hey, if you turn in an application for allocator onboarding, this is for you. There are 18 organizations that are still awaiting onboarding. The reason for this is twofold. Just candidly speaking, small team, and if any of us go out of the office for a period of time, there's less hands to do the audit, to do the onboarding, to do the setup, and that's what we've been facing. So these 18 organizations have submitted, are still in that review process. So I have listed a governance discussion on everybody who tentatively passed. There are some folks on this list that were denied initially, provided more updates for how they would run their pathway that increased their adoption and their diligence, and they're going to be accepted. So what we did was we onboarded everybody who was initially passed, and the folks on this list, we either had a change or we had another application come through to update your old one. So we're making a second pass on those as bandwidth comes through. So if your name's on this list, we're still reviewing it and we're still taking a look. If we identify something that might be fraudulent or nondescript in your information that's shared, then that won't be accepted. But for the most part, these are in the final stages for the public open allocators. One of the questions from the morning call was when will these be onboarded and when that will be finalized? Right now, these are put as a lower standard on the bandwidth, very tight bandwidth, like I said, with a lot of the office being out. So what we're doing is we're focusing on the changes for the multisig to fill that up. We're focusing on the DataCap refreshes and getting that out the door and then trickling these in. So my hope is to get these wrapped up this week and next. That way you can move forward, but we'll see as like the bandwidth opens up. So if you're on this list, you should see updates coming in the next couple of days. But again, I apologize that I can't give you a firm date on when these will be allocated. It will just be due to bandwidth as we kind of put these into the system. These are the organizations that fall under that for enterprise data allocators. Kind of similar. If you're asking for enterprise level of data, we're putting just a little bit more scrutiny on those and it's taking a little bit more time. Some of these enterprise allocators are asking for DataCap in terms of like the hundreds of petabytes. So for that, you should be able to demonstrate who your clients are, how you do the client outreach, how that will be verified before receiving that large chunk of data. So that's taking a little bit of time to go through. So we're looking at like business plans, we're looking at how the client communication works. So again, limited bandwidth, lots of applications to go through. Thanks for your patience as we onboard these. DataCap refresh. So this is a big stress point. In the past, 2023, 2024, and even half of 2025, what we've seen is that as the number of allocators grows, started at 8, went to 20, and then 60, then 80, then now we have over 100 allocators in the program. What we started to see is that a lot of the bandwidth is being consumed by several organizations that are making what I would consider almost like unnecessarily complex communications. This could be changing your whole structure. This could be changing your plan. This could be changing your entire team while simultaneously not meeting the standards. So limited retrieval rating, not diligent bookkeeping, not quality data coming on board. So it's 80% of our bandwidth going to pathways that are doing not the best on data onboarding and seem to be self-serving in that process. So taking a real solid look at how we can run this program for the future and not just run it for the immediate, we're kind of saying if you are not facilitating the onboarding of data that benefits the structure of how Filecoin Plus was set up, then you will be removed from the program. In the past, we made a lot of concessions if it was your first time or there was a misunderstanding in the program. But now that we've reached this point of over 100 pathways set up and having the fiddle pipeline already ready to go, there's really not a reason anymore because it's hurting the other allocators that are in the system when so much time is spent changing addresses, changing repos, changing these back and forth. So we're putting a big hold on how we look at some of these changes coming through. So if you are one of these pathways that have changed a lot of things or have not been doing the diligence standards kind of on the threshold, I guess this is that notification that the audit train is getting much more tight as far as how the DataCap refresh is looked at and how the DataCap onboarding. Now, I realize that some of you have been in the program or returning to the program or coming to the program for the first time, but the receiving of DataCap, like the key stress point is like a steward of this, is that it's not a right. The DataCap should go to organizations that are serving for the best interest, not in self-serving. So we'll talk about this as we see like some of the issues in the registry, some of the DataCap refreshes, some of the pathways that have already been removed. This is the reason why, is that if we are seeing not the best behavior on this or not the standards that you said you would hold, it needs to be some type of way where you can tell your clients that you cannot give them the DataCap, but there are 100 other options that are out there for them. So you'll read this in the red text, and I'll just read it out loud just so it's on there, that the stricter requirements are now in place for the allocators and the DataCap disbursements. So if the standards are not defined and met in the DataCap refresh, that allocator will just not be renewed. So there will be no more DataCap allocated to that pathway, and we won't be just turning around and onboarding that pathway again. So be very mindful of where the DataCap is going to the clients, how the standards you put with number of storage copies, number of replicas, number of regions, how the retrievability will be met, even the public open data set. Because again, there's a higher bar for the public on this going forward. So there will be a lot more enforcement on the public, the logs, the retrievability. If there's not those standards being met in the past, again, we were very lenient. We would give 1, 2, 3 throttles. Now that there are over 100 organizations that are distributing the DataCap, if the plan that was put in the application isn't met, the allocator will just not be refreshed. So I know that will be like a new change for some new ones, some returning ones. This is like your heads up, fair warning, and we'll be happy to dive into that as we go. So here are the ones that are in current DataCap secondary audit. I think there's 6. So these are undergoing the watchdog and community to look at it. And then Amin, who leads the reviews from the governance standpoint, will be going through these. And again, he'll be very specific in if you did not meet the application standards in the DataCap that was distributed, you will be removed. So he'll be giving updates on this one, and you should see these in the coming days. These ones on this list, these have all passed the DataCap refresh. Thank you for your contributions. We're waiting on the root key holders to come back, sign these, and get these out the door. So hence why we're moving to this multisig model to remove this quickly. So as soon as it's approved from Amin, we can get you that DataCap as soon as possible. So thanks for your patience. If you see your name on this list, you would have already seen the issue from Amin, and we'll be getting that root key holder signature for you. So those are the big updates that I wanted to share as just one of the stewards coming from this, almost just like the messenger on it. But I am so here for whatever questions you have, whatever you want to dive into. I'll check chat and I'll go through and I'll get whatever you need. So I'll pause, see if you have any questions, and I'll jump into the ones that I see in the chat.
Hello, Kevin. Hello, Kevin.
Hi, Doris.
Hello. I'm from IPF STT, and our number is 420. In this long, we focused on the suggestion from the government team. Our goal are to implement data quality, increase our retrieval rate, and support smart contracts. One, we have high retrieval rate. We had 4 clients and 3 SPs in list long. All SP had support, retrieval, and it leading to an improvement in our overall retrieval rate. 2, we have better data quality. We download sector from all LDNs. After the sector can be downloaded and the data can be verified, we can see with the client. For the LDN 186, we start supporting them because we couldn't download their sectors. But others 3 LDNs, they have good data in sector download and retrieval. And they can provide index information that can meet the government team's standards. 3, we had a testing about the smart contract. We tested the smart contract on the LDN 1, 8, and 3, and it was very successful. However, there are some bugs in the smart contract, and which we had report to the technical team. Finally, the IPFS team will continue to implement our allocation plan, and we hope to bring better clients and to the government team in the next round. Thank you. Thank you for the time. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you for that, Doris. Doris, that was great. Is there a question that you had in there? If there was a question, I might have missed it. Is there anything that I can get you or help run down or answer?
We have any question. I just want to want to have a report to you.
That's fabulous. So let me kind of say this back what I heard and make sure that any kind of language barrier or like chips in the line. So you've been working on a smart contract with some of your clients and that you're kind of seeing that come to fruition and you're kind of developing that. Do I have the bulk of that, or is there anything you would add to my understanding and notes that I could pass along?
Oh, okay. The smart contract had been successful, but there are some bug in when we see they had some bug, so we had to stop. We had to stop using the smart contract. When the technical team had fix the bug, we can continue to using the smart contract. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, hey, I'm looking forward to it. Let me find your application and see.
It is 420.
I got it. I'm looking at it here. Yeah. So it looks like you're approved. You got the 10. You're moving forward with it. It's good to go. Is there any blocks or anything you need help with, or is it all sunny days?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Well, thank you too. I appreciate it. All right. Let me go to chat. I see that there's a couple questions. Tian Studio. Yeah, I thought you guys would be here. We have a couple things we're looking at with you. Let me read this out loud for the Zoom recording, then I'll move forward. So how long do you expect it will take? You're looking at the registry issue. Let me pull this up on the shared screen, and then I'll tell you what's going on. Dion, my apologies. So essentially, you're kind of locked in the root key holder, just to kind of give you an update for everyone who's watching or kind of on the call. So Tianj got the DataCap refresh. It went to this 931 instead of this. And so we need to pull that DataCap back and then issue it to the new address. So what we're doing is we're waiting on the essential, like the root key holder that ties this together and puts it through. I apologize. This is just, it's on us. And I thank you for your patience. And we will get this fixed for you. Not to like kind of give you too much, but it's important that you know that right now, very small team. Like if there's 2 or 3 people and 1 or 2 of them are out of the office, it just really condenses like how to get the access to it. So I appreciate your patience. I have flagged this. I will send another flag that I sent on that 2 weeks ago, and I'll make sure I make a note here on my whiteboard. So that way, Monday morning when I meet with those teams, I can make sure that I let them know that again, you're on this call, you're flagging this, you're coming on board, and we'll get that corrected for you. So thanks for your patience. I wish that I would get that done sooner, kind of at the limits of like what we have as far as resources. But again, thanks for letting me know. I will flag this and I will see what we can do as far as fast tracking it for you. Alex, let me read yours here. Morning, night, all the same. You're getting an error. Repository check failed for the Alula network org. Is it related with the second review? And you have a screenshot. Let me pull this up here and take a look. I'm looking at your screenshot of the error request coming. Bookkeeping. Check repo installation. All I could figure is that the allocator tooling is going, and you, Alex, can you do me a favor? I'm going to check chat. Do you already have? Okay, thank you for this link. I see where the screenshot came from. See the PR for you. Alex, give me a minute to orient and see what's going on. I'll dive in. Okay, so we got a ULA 179. Alex, I'm not sure. Give me a minute to keep looking in. I think what you are is you're in the same boat. Yeah. Alex, here's what's going on. So you had submitted the first application, and that was this one, 915, and this was rejected due to like just not meeting the compliance standards that a majority of the other community were. You came to the call, you got some feedback, you amended your application, you raised your diligence standards, and you submitted as new one, 01079. Essentially, what you were waiting for is the same boat where we onboarded everybody that was initially accepted, and that we're making this second pass of a few handful of folks, yourself included, with this one to be onboarded. But you're kind of caught in that limbo where we're now circling back to do all the paperwork, to fix all the errors, and then get these pathways merged. So, no action on your part right now, but you will not see the DataCap come to this 1079 application until we finish these onboardings for these organizations. So just like Tianji Studios, I'm sorry, I wish it was faster. I wish I had 100 people that I worked with and we could get this out for you. But it's just not the reality. So as soon as we get these on board, you'll see this 1079 get topped off with a data cap, and then you'll be good to go. All I ask is be ready and have your governance repo set up. And this would apply to you as one of the new ones in the pathway, is making sure that you have a README file set up. So the reason why you're seeing that error is because your pathway hasn't been onboarded. Thanks for your patience. You'll see that kick off, and I'll get you all added into the Slack.
Okay. So this me, Kenneth.
Hey,
And
Kenneth.
hi. Uh So for me, I guess for Origin, I will just have to update the README file to show the points that you mentioned, as well as how many, what is the pathway and how many replicas is there, and contact information, I guess. Yep. And then after I update, who do I actually communicate with?
I don't think there's any action to communicate it. It just has to be set up. Remind me what your new org name is, Kenneth.
It is not in this list. It's or it's futures. Is the project name is called Future Storage by Origin Storage.
Oh, hang on, Kenneth. Let's take a minute and make sure that you're set up because I don't see you on this list, and I want to make sure that everything is on the back end for you. Give me a minute on my side to pull up some back end stuff, and I'll make sure that I've got you and there's nothing else you have to do. Give me
Thank you.
just a
I'm
moment.
just back from Seattle, Washington trip.
Hey, good stuff. Business or pleasure?
Yeah, yeah. Both actually, both.
That's good when you can merge the two.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
great.
Kenneth, I know that you submitted one and then we had talked and you had the one replica and it was denied and then you were going to submit a new one. I'm not
Yep.
seeing the second one that you turned in. Remind me of the name a third time. I know you've given it to me. Give it to me one more time.
Okay, give me just a moment. I will just pull out the application.
I'll race you because I've got 912 from Chain UPK.
Yep, yep,
And
that's me.
then you were going to send another one in from Future Storage. And I don't see another one that was sent.
Let me see. Oh yeah, so that's the last one. So yeah, I guess 3 weeks ago is where I left for the US. So is there anything that I should do right now?
Oh man, this is a tough one. So you'd never submitted a seconded application that had the updated diligence plan?
Yeah, I have no, I just commented over here only, which is on July the 9th. I left on the I think 16.
I get you. I get you. Here's what I'd like you to do.
Yep,
Now that you're back at your computer, please come to the governance. Come to the meeting invite here. I'm going to post this link here in chat so you have it and you're not fishing like I am looking for it. Give me just 1 minute.
yep. Thank you. You need PW. Sorry, PW will be you mean a PR, pull request?
No, no, it won't be in the PR request. So let me show you. So if you remember this, apply to become an allocator, apply.allocator.tech, when
Yep,
you would click this apply to become an allocator, this would
yep,
take you to an Airtable form where then you would submit
yep.
an application. This is closed. So we had the
Oh,
tooling teams close this down. So you cannot submit anymore. So
I
what
see.
you need to do is publicly make a request like, hey, I had submitted my application. Give the link to the one for future storage and say this was initially denied. And then say I came to the governance calls. I got feedback that I needed more storage copies of this. So I
Yep.
communicated that I will update that, but I overlooked submitting my application. I'd like to
I,
request the link to the Airtable form to submit my new application. I highly recommend you do that tonight, or I guess your morning. And then that way, tomorrow, when they come on board, I can get that password. If we were to wait even a couple of days, you'll miss
yep.
that window to come through. So I make that a high priority and then send that, and then I could fast track it. Please link it here in this 422, this next governance call. Because what I'll do is after this meeting, I'll come back through and I'm trying to close these all out between the Slack, between the registry, between these, I'm really just one man shop kind of burning through these to make sure that I can get these to the auditing teams and get them back.
Yeah.
So please leave that comment here and then we can move forward for you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll leave the comment here to request for a new application password.
Yeah, the more detail you can put, again, kind of spell out what we talked about. I think this was a month or two ago, and just say
Yep.
like, hey, initially we had one, we understand that's low, we will increase it. We've been around before, and then that's the best way to go.
Okay, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
CC, I see that you're on the call. Sing Zhang, if there's anything you guys weren't curious about or want to discuss, happy to look into it for you. All right. Well, if anything changes, please let me know. Again, thanks for all you do. Looking for good things to come. If you need anything, please let us know as we go forward. And again, thanks for your patience as we kind of work through this backlog of the DataCap, the tooling, and going forward. All right. All the best.